Time now for today's press review. We're joined by Alison Sargent for that. Alison, going to start in Russia. Reactions there to the court's decision to jail Alexei Navalny.
That's right, Eva. He'll end up spending 2 years and 8 months in prison when you subtract the time he already spent under house arrest. Russian paper Kommersant is headlining that Navalny is, quote, prisoner of the Chateau d'If. Now, this is a pun that is actually a double reference. First, to the Chateau d'If, with the famous fortress off the coast of Marseille, where the hero of the novel The Count of Monte Cristo is imprisoned. But here in this headline, it's the Chateau d'If, Yves as in Yves Rocher, which is a reference to the suspended case Navalny is now being sentenced for. A little bit complicated, but impressive, I have to say. It took us a while to figure out, so I did want to explain it to all of you guys. Now, Kommersant cites political experts who say that by imprisoning Navalny, Russian authorities want to decapitate the opposition, but that is going to have the opposite effect. They say that it equates Navalny actually with Soviet-era dissidents and will actually give him more political weight. This is pretty much the analysis that we're seeing from all of the Western papers as well. An editorialist from German paper Frankfurter Allgemeine here writes, quote, by throwing the country's main opposition politician in prison, the Kremlin is destroying the carefully constructed myth that Putin's power depends solely on popular support. Basically, Putin's strong response here is actually proof of his weakness.
Okay, so some papers discussing Putin's weakness, but there's also a lot of articles looking at one of Russia's current strengths when it comes to coronavirus vaccines.
That's right. This was a study published in The Lancet yesterday that showed the Sputnik vaccine to be over 91% effective. The paper Izvestia is talking about a successful launch for the Russian vaccine, and the paper cites a statement by a British virologist for The Lancet Medical Journal who said that the Sputnik vaccine was, quote, criticized for its hasty development, cutting corners, and lack of transparency, but the result is clear. It does work. Not only does it work, but we read in Izvestia that it is well tolerated by older people who are over the age of 60. That's particularly important because France, Belgium, and other European countries have been ruling out the AstraZeneca vaccine for older populations. A Belgian paper, Le Soir, wonders if Sputnik could actually replace the AstraZeneca vaccine for people in Belgium over the age of 55. The paper here headlines that the Russian vaccine is, quote, standing at the gates of Europe.
Standing at the gates of Europe could be a massive tool in the fight against COVID-19 here, and yet a lot of French papers don't seem very happy.
That's right. France is still really bitter about its own failures to develop a French vaccine. L'Opinion goes so far as to call the Sputnik vaccine a humiliation for France. The paper notes that of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, well, France is now the only one not to have developed its own vaccine. L'Opinion blames the French government for not investing in French companies working to develop vaccines. The paper also does a little bit of French bashing, blaming more largely the country's, quote, precaution, bureaucratic obsession, anti-capitalist reflex, as well as arrogance and blindness. Meanwhile, Aujourd'hui en France writes that France will be getting a French-made vaccine soon. It's being developed by French biotech firm Valneva and will be launching phase 3 trials in the coming months. The problem, though, is that France didn't actually invest in this French company. The United Kingdom did. So as a result, the UK is actually going to be getting the first doses of this vaccine when it comes out. The paper's conclusion here is being too cautious is not paying off for France.
Well, let's move to the UK next. Their paper's mourning the loss of Captain Tom Moore.
That's right. This was such sad news. We were just talking on Monday about the fact that he had been hospitalized for COVID-19. For the I newspaper, he was the best of us, quote, a 100-year-old war hero and optimist who inspired us during our worst crisis in 75 years and raised over £30 million for National Health Service charities. A right-wing tabloid, The Sun, calls him Captain Marvel on their front page. Their photo of him here is of the day he finished his first 100 laps around his garden and began his legacy, as the paper says. Also, at the top of this front page there, you can see a photo of him when he was a young soldier, quite handsome with his little mustache. The country and the papers really are united in mourning Captain Tom today. A left-wing tabloid, The Daily Mirror, calls him, quote, a hero of our time. They say he was a resilient old soldier whose motto was, tomorrow will be a good day. And they write that it's tragic that at the age of 100, he succumbed to the very same virus that he did so much to help others survive against.
Indeed. Well, finally, maybe to brighten our spirits, I'm seeing the headline here. We're moving across to the United States to a story about singer Dolly Parton. She's revealed that she has twice turned down the highest Medal of Honor in the US.
That's right. She turned down the Medal of Freedom twice when it was offered to her by Donald Trump. Dolly Parton is another symbol of the fight against COVID-19. The singer donated $1 million to the research and development of the Moderna vaccine. The Guardian explains that her refusals of this medal were for practical reasons. It didn't have anything to do with the fact that Donald Trump was the one offering it to her. She says the first time her husband was ill, the second she wouldn't travel because of COVID. She also said that now if Biden offers it to her, well, she's not sure she's going to accept it because she doesn't want to be seen as being political. I have to say I respect the sentiment, but I do think that Dolly Parton deserves it. I wish she would take it.
Indeed, I guess she has it in people's hearts, Alison, no matter what. Thanks a lot for that look at the international papers. Time for us to take a quick break now, but we're back with more updates in just a few minutes. See you then.